Hello and welcome to FBL Broadcasting, part of the Canadian Corporation Limited. And as always, we're always bringing new stuff to you. So it's the Police and Crime Commissioner time. Time for election, 6th of May. Don't forget to vote. That's what we were given. And we have the first one up. He's independent. It's Alan Robinson. Hello, Alan.
Thank you so much.
So we had some fun, didn't we, just a second ago? For the last 15 minutes. Was madness, everybody. We literally were... Well, just tech. Tech just has a way, doesn't it? It's just great. It's just fantastic. So, Alan, big thing for you, really, this, isn't it? So you're ex-policeman.
Yeah.
25 years?
25 years.
25 years. What makes you want to do this? That's the first question I would ask. What is that?
Well, quite frankly, I can see the inefficiency and ineffectiveness within the police service. You know, we've just got to get the Bobby back on the beat. We've got all these projects and initiatives and everything, but it just doesn't seem to be as effective as having that Bobby on the beat and using their common sense and discretion and engaging with their communities. And I think I've got something really great to offer the people in the communities of Thames Valley. Okay,
so first things first, or second things first now. What is the police? Right, it was Police and Crime Commissioner, wasn't it? Sorry, not Police and Crime, Police and Complaints Commissioner, wasn't it? Is that correct? Has it ever been that?
Say again, sorry.
Police Complaints Commissioner, wasn't it, at one point? But now it's the Police and Crime Commissioner. Or was it?
No. I think it's always been the Police and Crime Commissioner, yeah.
Okay, I did some work at Sheffield. I'd done the very first town hall with the PCC there, and I'm sure it's Police Complaints Commissioner, but I was a bit like, okay, I might have got this wrong, but never mind. But it's Police and Crime Commissioner, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So what does the Police and Crime Commissioner do? What's so special about this role?
Right. My understanding is that the Police and Crime Commissioner, one, holds the Chief Constable to account for the efficiency and effectiveness of the police service. Two, holds the budget. Three, can fund projects and initiatives. But the main role is to hold the Chief Constable to account for the efficiency and effectiveness of the police service, and obviously look after the budget.
Always got to look after the budget. I think every public service has to look after the budget, right? So you had to make a statement, didn't you, of how you're going to reduce crime and do other things within if you get elected. So what were they? Or what are they actually? Not what.
Right. To me, policing is about people. It's not about politics. The politics have taken over the policing. I've received. Say again, sorry.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, it's a really important point. You know, it's about people, and I think politicians forget that if they're making these promises, that the officers have got to go out and deal with them. You know, and deliver those promises. But right at the moment, we've got 450 police officers poorly out of 4,500, and it's very difficult for them to deliver on those promises. Right. I don't think I answered your question. Sorry, say the question again.
Well, the question really is what are you going to bring to the Police and Crime Commissioner? What did you write in your statement? Or you have to create a plan, don't you, really? A plan to...
Yeah. Well, my plan is a 5-point plan. The 5-point plan is to get the Bobbies back on the beat, to get them to use their common sense and discretion, to engage with their communities, to raise the morale of the officers. And this is the really key element to me. To raise the morale of the officers means that they can then go out and deliver the promises. And obviously, my unique selling point in all this is that I'm free from political interference. I haven't got a boss like Priti Patel or Keir Starmer. I haven't, you know, so I genuinely, if people vote for me, I'll be representing those people who have voted for me. And I haven't got two bosses. I haven't got the people and Priti Patel. You know, my boss are the people that I'm accountable to and the people I care about, and that is you. There's just one boss for me, and that's the people that I'm serving.
Well, it's 500,000 in the Thames Valley area, isn't it? Or Buckinghamshire area, 500,000.
2.1 million people in the Thames Valley area across Buckinghamshire,
really?
Berkshire, and Oxfordshire.
Of course, yeah, because it's not just bucks, is it? Obviously, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's a good point.
Okay, so I've done some background research. I've done quite a few things. Now, again, I found it quite interesting. Now, who can you see that? The Police Federation. Ah, big smile. Police Federation. Do you know about that? Who are they?
Yeah.
Is that who represents the bobbies? Then is it?
What does it say underneath? The Officers Constable, the bedrock of modern policing. Okay.
No.
From the Police Federation. Yeah.
So the Police Federation is actually about all the police force, isn't it? Is this sort of something they're part of?
The Police Federation is a marvellous thing. The Police Federation, by and large, the union, though obviously police officers can't have the union, that's the closest thing to the union that they can have. Now, they produce a staff satisfaction, or I call it a staff dissatisfaction survey each year.
What was that figure again you just said? How many were dissatisfied? Or no, not dissatisfied. Right. How many would not recommend their friend, isn't it? That's for the police.
56% of frontline officers, 56% of officers would not recommend people to join Thames Valley Police. 72% believe that the morale is low.
Right.
And that is staggering.
Is that under current trends or problems? Or is that since the since the last 5 years or since the last 10?
No, 15? That's I think the survey was actually done September 2020, and I think it was published about November.
Okay, all right. So I read in this Police Federation, like you said, it's like your union, isn't it, or whatever? But or like yours, but like theirs. So I'm going through this. I'll put it up on the screen. I have the technology. Why didn't I do that? That would be a better idea. Here we go. I just got to share the screen. You'll see it in a minute. This is the bit I love. I might do it wrong. Here goes. There we go. So I'll read from down here because squinting and stuff. So every constable is an independent legal entity. The public's guarantee of impartiality. Officers of the Crown operate independent of undue influence, interference, and with a personal responsibility which requires a unique type of personal commitment. Now, this is what you get from a constable or a police officer, isn't it?
Martin, that is an enormous statement. It's an awesome statement.
I know. It's a great statement.
But it's not true. It's simply not true, because those officers, and this is what brings about a lot of the illness, is that they're chasing targets. And this is what I'm fighting against. I'm fighting against these targets because I believe they're not ethical. All those police officers have got the code of ethics. They are accountable. They are open. They have got integrity. They have got objectivity. And quite frankly, to set those targets, the two aims of the police service contradict each other. If you've got targets, you can't have ethics. And as your caption just showed there, they all act as individuals, but they can't because they're chasing those targets, because Priti Patel wants the targets. Yeah,
that's because if they can measure a target, they can say, oh, look how good we are. Now, there is this document I found by, obviously, the Police Federation.
Brilliant. Is absolutely brilliant.
It's an eye-opener, people. I'll put a link there to it as well, if people, especially if you want it, people.
Thank you so much.
Actually, let me just quickly say,
you've done a lot of work there, Martin. That is really brilliant work.
I try my best. I just don't willy-nilly go in there and just go, oh, well, this is this. You will not believe. Now, let me say, I'll tell you why I have a lot of appreciation of the police. Yeah, it's because it's a job which takes a lot, and I've had friends in it, and I understand that, as I say to a lot of people, we're quick enough to complain, but when something goes wrong, we're quick enough to call. So,
absolutely,
again, the police are human beings. Yeah, they really are. And, some of the things I do cover on my channel does actually people go, oh, you're just against, for instance, the NHS. No, I'm not. I've never been against the NHS. I work for the NHS and took a pay cut to work there as well because I was trying to improve and help. But I came a lot of resistance. And any friends watching this, I'm sure, who worked with me in the NHS will go, I was kind of Gordon Ramsay of IT. I was nicknamed at one point, but there we go. That's just me. I shouldn't be doing it. It's all about you. So this document was very interesting to me. Very interesting because I do believe that the Police and Crime Commissioner is kind of moved away from where it's supposed to be. And I found very interesting. Now, if you don't mind me, I'm going to tell people, yeah, and you probably might not like me saying this, but at first you did decline for an interview, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
You did.
I did.
But then I sent you another email saying, you're an independent. You should really jump at the chance. And, and I do believe you tick a lot of boxes. There is no doubt, because one thing is you've been a police officer. You know what they go through, and they do need to be represented in the right way. But the biggest thing that I find very interesting is you've put up £5,000 of your own money.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Now, all the other people who are candidates haven't. As far as I know, I will ask them. I've got Letitia on Monday at 12 o'clock. John Howson, sorry. He's been really good, actually. And I do apologize to John on air right here, right now.
People, Martin. They are great people.
They are.
They're great people.
Separate, yeah. So I haven't been able to get a date and a time with him just yet, but I'm sure he will. He was very, very positive. He was like one of the first to respond, actually. But it's the dates and the times and stuff, because I was trying to get a collective of all of you, which I've now booked, and I've sent an email out to all of you, which is May 5th at 6 p.m. So providing we got 2 or more, then we'll have a collective interview. But obviously Matthew Barber has come back and said no, he's busy. So I've now resent another email to say, well, how about next week? So we'll see how it goes in that respect. Yeah. But anyway, going back to the police, going back to this document. It says here, now if I bring it back up again, oh, you've got to love all this. Here we go. So John Apter has put, the office of Constable works. It brings with it pride, unity and commitment to serve. It is about integrity, impartiality, accountability, and most importantly, political independence. That's a big statement. And this is where I know the mainstream media haven't been very fair to you in one respect from certain things. So when you got politics involved, and this is why at the last election, people who tuned into the channel back then, I actually covered the whole ballot. I made sure that everybody, no matter who they were, got a voice on my channel. They had the opportunity. Nobody can turn around in any of that election and say, I didn't get an email. It'd be like, well, if you didn't, then I humbly apologize, but there is no reason why you shouldn't have. I live stream hustings again. Didn't get paid to do any of this. Did this solely off my own back and part of my company. And also I live streamed the ballot to show democracy in motion. Now, what a lot of people don't know, and I'm sure you do, is politics is not supposed to be part of policing. They're supposed to be separate.
It's not. It's not. It simply isn't. The role of the PCC should be elected by the people to represent their wishes. Yeah. Now, I consider there's a huge contradiction in serving the public, the people, and the party. You know, 1 minute the flavour of the month, and it is a really important issue, could be violence against women. It's a massively important, but when there's another objective, will the candidate who's promoting that, will they change their direction, or will they be given new priorities? Because my priorities are really quite simple and straightforward, and it doesn't waver. It doesn't waver. We've got to get the bobbies on the beat. We've got to get them using their common sense and discretion, and not aiming for those targets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Targets. I saw it a lot in the NHS, and it was like, I mean, I think it was was it 6 to every appointment, which was a minute or something, people, which was like, how can that possibly happen? But again, that's that. So how would you get more?
It's not treating people as people, Martin.
It's not. And I can't say this enough. I do get a lot of stuff sent to me in regards, and I can show them a little bit later, about policing that really makes me sad. But also I'm going to give a big shout out, because there's a guy called AB. He does, I think, Police England or something. I don't know. He basically goes round and he literally, he doesn't antagonize the police force. He goes around and he films the police stations, and obviously police, because again, you got to make sure that nobody's a terrorist or anything. Do ask questions, and he has been treated in certain ways of, well, I don't have to give up your information, because if I'm right, you don't have to give up any information about yourself unless you're committing a crime or believed to be committing a crime.
That's right.
So
that's exactly.
That is correct? I am right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
So I'm going to give a big shout out here to Thames Valley police officer Michael Connery, PC 1527. Because I'll tell you what, mate, this is a big shout out to you, because I watched this video when he actually inspected Aylesbury's Thames Valley Police area, and he treated him with respect. He treated him, like a human being, and he wasn't very up in his face. And it was really, really, really nice. And I do have that video here. Maybe if we have a little bit of time, a little bit later, we can maybe show a little bit of it, because I'd like,
that'd be great.
That's my Alexa's kicking in. What I would like was with him to get commendation for that, because he honestly, again, I don't know the police officer in case, but again, I was very impressed, and I actually sent it to a friend of mine who's been in Thames Valley Police, and I said, so proud of what this police officer was like, and it was really good. So, is there a difference, by the way? A quick question: as you are ex-police, is there a difference between a police officer and a police constable?
No, a police constable is a rank within the officer's system. So it's a rank structure, as you probably know. So a police constable, and then you get promoted to sergeant, inspector, chief inspector, superintendent, chief superintendent. So all of them are officers of any rank. But by and large, I think when you talk in terms of police officer, you usually talk about police constable.
You do.
So I was a sergeant, but I'm a police officer, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, you're a police officer, but actually your rank is sergeant.
You've cracked it. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Wow, I learn something new every day. Right. Okay. Every day's a school day. Right. So, I mean, I don't want to make it all about this document, but I believe it feeds in with what you're saying in your statement and everything. So if you bear with me, I'm going to bring up this document again. So let's have a look. Make sure I do this right. Do it right. Here we go. So we just went through that. So I've highlighted a few things on here, but in this bit, it's the basically the second paragraph, and it's quite a long bit actually. It says, on appointment, each police officer makes a declaration to faithfully discharge the duties of the office of constable in England and Wales. Police officers swear an allegiance to the monarch. Now that's right. I mean, I will go into more of that if people want me to. Put in the comments, people. People, please comment if you've got any questions as well, or you're kind of working out what's going on here. So it's to the monarch. It's not to the government, isn't it? When you swear,
not to the government. And Martin, if you'd have carried on down on that oath,
do you want to carry on?
It does. Yes, steady on. It does then say to uphold the law fairly, with integrity, diligence, and impartiality, which isn't far from what you read out from the chairman of the Police Federation.
You've jumped ahead.
I think they said accountability, but the words are much the same.
I still have that page to go. I was going to come on to it a little bit later, which was what you were just saying. So here's the question. Do you know your oath? Do you know the oath off by heart?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to bring it up on the screen. I've got it in front of me. Yeah. And let's see. I mean, it's 25 years since you said the oath, isn't it, really, to be honest?
But we've pretty much said it. I solemnly declare that I will serve my queen, it says, as opposed to the sovereign, and I will discharge my duties fairly, with integrity, diligence, and impartiality. There's a little bit after that, but that is the key to it, impartially.
Can I just add to that, if you don't mind? Can I read for everybody out there? Just got to read this out, because it's a very interesting thing, because this is something that is said quite a lot, especially in the contention in the period that we're in at the moment. So I'm just going to read this out. So I do apologize again. I'm jumping in with it, but here it is. This is what it says. I do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve the Queen in office of constable with fairness, integrity, diligence, and impartiality, upholding fundamental human rights and according equal respect to all people. And that I will, to the best of my power, cause the peace to be kept and preserved and prevent all offences against people and property. And that while I continue to hold the said office, I will, to the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all duties thereof faithfully according to law. Now that is that's a great statement to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is that something that if you get elected, would you make them read that out every day? Can you make them
read it out every day? But I
before they
home the message, because I don't think they know who they serve.
That's why I'm saying it. That's why.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you why. Because the thing is our government is actually breaking human rights in the current period, and that goes above our law, the international human rights. So every constable out there now, every police officer, constable, whichever way you want to call yourself, you are independent, believe it or not. You decide, and if I'm right or wrong, please tell me. You decide whether or not you push forward with arresting somebody, because I can come to it a little bit later, because of the provision you've been given. So,
Martin, right, this is the key to my plan. I won't be pompous enough to say vision. It's my plan.
I think you should say
that those officers have been recruited because they show initiative, they show common sense, and they show discretion. Now, when I joined in 1993, that common sense and discretion and initiative was at the forefront of my decision making.
Yes.
The example that I give, and I really should try and think of another one, is that two lads having a fight on a Friday night in Abingdon. I'd get between them and just sort of like say, right, lads, either shake hands now and go your separate way, or go your separate ways. I don't want to see you together. Now, that has become, if that's caught on CCTV, or the call handler heard that there's an assault, we're then duty bound to what they call get a positive disposal. Now, that might not mean arrest, but it's not far off. You either end up giving them a fixed penalty notice for disorder or whatever it might be, but the police officer is then, his or her hand is forced to get what they call a positive outcome, a detection. Now, that takes a lot of time, and it takes a police officer off the street for a certain amount of time. If it gets to a point of arrest and putting a file together, we're looking at the best part of a day to get that home. Whereas, as I say, 1993 to about 2000, we could pretty much deal with that with common sense and discretion. It then goes to the point that you're making about that oath. I think the two things, chasing a detection or a positive outcome completely contradicts.
But this goes with targets.
Sense of discretion.
It's
a massive point.
Yeah, this is the thing with targets, isn't it? If you've got to reach a target, and you got to, people believe it. It's like, I hate to say it, it's like a sales. That's what it is. If the police are, oh, well done. You've done 3,000 arrests for GBH, for instance, this month. Congratulations.
Martin, do you mind if because, this is where my heart is.
Please do. It's your time.
Those officers are pretty much put on tracks. They can't deviate from the policies. And for an intelligent person, that is really debilitating. If you're thinking, right, I'm going to use my common sense and discretion, and all of a sudden you're put on a track to say, no, you must do that, and it causes quite a lot of problems to the officers. It's just got to stop. There's no way around it. It worked for many years, using common sense and discretion. I'm really sorry I haven't brought my Pelian principles in with me, the 9 Pelian principles.
Oh, well, but you know what? Hang on a sec. You don't have to, because guess what?
Oh, Martin.
I've got you covered. Look, there we go. Oh, hang on. There we go.
Martin,
I don't even know why I do research anymore.
That right there is how I see policing. Now, that was written, strange enough, by Sir Robert Peel in the 1820s, and I think it was quite early 1820s, but it didn't actually come to fruition until the 1840s. Now, that's 170 years old, and it stood us in good stead right up until about the 1980s, and then political interference sneaked in.
Yeah.
And then it really took a grip in the year 2000s, around there. It really took a grip.
I think.
If you read 5, I can't read it on there, but I do know it.
I can read it out. Would you like me to read it out? Which one would you like me to read?
Well, 5 and 7. 5 and 7 are the crucial ones.
Okay, you want 5 and 7. I want to read out 9 as well. So here we go. 5. Shall I go through all of them so that people, in case they can't read it, is that better? Because then.
Yeah, well, yeah, because this is the fundamental of my argument. This is how police should be. This
is how it should be, isn't it? This is what's actually the Police Federation follow, and I believe every police officer tries to do, but due to certain restrictions that we'll come to later, they can't. So number 1 is the basic mission for which the police exist is to prevent crime and disorder. Yeah. Yes. Quite an easy one, isn't it? It's like, that's why I kind of have a police force. Right. 2, the ability of the police to perform their duties is dependent upon public approval of police actions. What does that? Just to arrest somebody to satisfy a target, isn't that? So straight away, if I'm going to use the Coronavirus Act. A lot of arrests are happening and getting thrown out of court because it's just to hit a target, isn't it? It really is. Now, again, I quickly explain or quickly jump in with this is there's three sections. There's politics, and it is covered in this document. There's politics, there's policing, and then there's judiciary. And they're 3 separate things, and they're kept separate for one reason: is to stop, trying to control everything. And this is what you're going to get with the PCC. And this is why it's so important. People, for instance, watch this and share it, just like with all the other candidates as well. I will talk to them about this. Is if you got political power controlling the police force, then they're going to push their agenda. And I think that's where you're coming through in what you wrote in your statement, if I'm correct. You've absolutely nailed it. That's precisely right. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah. That's probably a first for me. Well done. So I'm going to get a gold star, put it there. So number 3, police must secure the willing cooperation of the public in voluntary observance of the law to be able to secure and maintain the respect of the public. Yes. Yes. We police by consent. This is the point. There is a big thing where people are saying now, I do not consent. Because when they're being arrested for the Coronavirus Act, they're not consenting to it. And the police are still arresting them, which is, I'll take this up with Matthew Barber later on because he's deputy PCC, I believe. So, if I'm correct. But that's an interesting thing, isn't it? This is why I found this document very interesting to read. And again, I'm like everybody else out there. I'm a human being and, I'm doing my other things. But obviously when my focus switches to something, I like to investigate and understand and do due diligence if I can. And so that's why we're doing it. So number 4. So this is what you wanted, wasn't it? The degree number of 5 and 7. My favorite. 5 and 7. I'll circle them so that I don't get that wrong. See, I apologize. So number 4 was the degree of cooperation of the public that can be secured diminishes proportionality to the necessity of the use of physical force. Yes. Yeah. Minimum force. So just arresting somebody isn't sort of good, is it? It's a bit like, come on, sort yourself, like you said earlier. Sort yourself out. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, should always be. Yeah. Right. So number 5 is police seek and preserve public favour, not by catering to public opinion, but constantly demonstrating absolute impartial service to the law. Mark, this is the Colston statue coming down. This is people damaging the HSBC building. Breaking the law is breaking the law, no matter what the cause. Without the old-fashioned term for that, obviously, was without fear or favour. But we've gone through the oath, so the 4 words now for that is fairness, integrity, diligence, and impartiality. And that, to me, you're showing bias. Yeah. And that can't be. You've got to uphold the law, irrespective of who's doing it or what their cause is. It's really fundamental. It's really important. I'll just grab a bit of coffee. Hang on a sec.
You have a coffee.
I have to. I talk too much. I do. So yeah. So it says preserve public favour, not by carrying to public opinion. So yeah. So again, this is what a police officer has, isn't it? They have. I mean, they are their own law in one respect, as in they are put into power, or not put into power. That's a bad thing for me to say. I do apologise, everybody. Strike that from the record, as they say. They have given the ability to act upon that law in their own discretion, is what I would say. Isn't it?
Precisely.
And if you're smashing something up, even if it is HS2, you've got to think of it. If that was your property, would you like somebody doing that? And that's where, again, the police would obviously try and take you away. But now it's a bit different, isn't it? If somebody touches the HS2, they're arrested and obviously charged with,
Yeah.
What's the charge? You've been in the police. What would that be?
Well, you're going down the criminal damage act, aren't you?
Right.
Vandalism.
Okay. Yeah, vandalism. That was it. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So that was number 5. So let's go back. I wonder how many people are watching this going or watch it on the replay. By the way, I know a lot of people watch this sort of stuff.
This is important stuff. The Pelian principles are fundamental to policing. Really important.
I will go through this with the other candidates if they obviously show up, as they say. Police use number 6. Police use physical force to the extent necessary to secure observance of the law or to restore order only when the exercise of persuasion, advice, and warning is found to be insufficient. Now, this is where the big shout out comes to, what was it, PC, Michael Connery, where he did that. He didn't jump in. He didn't say, right, we believe you're a terrorist, or, you're doing this, just give us your details. He treated him with respect, gave him warning, because AB had said a couple of things. And he was like, can you stop that? You're being nasty to me and I'm being nice to you. So give me, treat me like a human being, like you want to be treated. So I thought that very, very interesting. That's what that
Martin, I have to say that that use of force, we're trained really, really well. It's called officer safety training. Yeah. And we're taught by really enthusiastic police officers who just want police officers and everybody to return to their homes as safely as possible. It's the training for that, defense tactics, officer safety training is absolutely marvelous. And it is covered by law. If people challenge me, well, sometimes they go over the top. I'll accept that. I won't defend the indefensible, but the training given to officers, and from what you're saying, his PC Henri case was absolutely fantastic. And that's down to some brilliant training, and obviously the individual characteristics and skills and ability of that officer, which is really heartening to know. Okay,
so there's a couple of videos I'd like to show you, but I think we'll finish this first, and then we'll come on to that.
Let's get number 7.
Number 7. I should have that thing in 7, or number 7, whatever. Here we go. Let's bring it up so people can see. Police at all times should maintain a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. The police being only members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent, I can never say that word properly, on every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence. So that's an interesting statement. Number 7. That is, I know, no wonder why you chose that, actually. Because when I read that number 7, I was like, wow. Oh, okay. So actually, that's why you can do a citizen's arrest, isn't it?
You can do a citizen's arrest. But, the police have got to realise that they are representatives of the public. They're not above the public at all. And we shouldn't be acting on behalf of the politicians. Our first responsibility is to the public, and it's as simple as that. And it's a brilliant principle 7, the Pelian principles, is just a marvelous thing. And the people of Thames Valley should know that. They should be made aware of these principles. And I don't know how it got lost. I don't know.
Citizens or the police?
How it got lost.
The police or the citizens? Who should be made aware of this?
the good people of Thames Valley should know that's what the role of the police is.
Do you know what? I didn't even know about this. You know, this principle policy of policing. I obviously I found this. I think it was about 2 o'clock this morning.
You did incredible.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful to you.
It's one of those things. Well, I try and do my best, but thank you.
No, it's jaw dropping. It's fantastic stuff.
And this is, again, I want police officers out there to not. I do feel that under current guidance or whatever, that too much politics is getting involved in policing, and they're not able to conduct their duties as they're supposed to be. Again, politics needs to stay in the politics section. Policing needs to stay in the policing section, and obviously,
judiciary.
Yeah, judiciary. Thank you very much. Judiciary needs to stay where it is, obviously, because nobody should be crossing their boundaries. And I do believe, and when I speak to the other candidates, I will be asking them a big question as to why. Really, they shouldn't be standing for any party. No political party should be standing for PCC because it's crossing boundaries. Would you agree?
Absolutely right. Yeah? Absolutely right.
Okay. Again, tell me out there, people. Tell me in the comments, or if you watch, especially if you watch it on the replay, let me know. Have you heard or seen this ever before? Are you aware of it? And do you believe that things are crossing boundaries that they shouldn't? Because this is how things get mixed up, and we could be the reason why we're in the current state in this country at the moment. And also, this isn't just England. This is not just United Kingdom. This is around the world. So believe it or not. So quite a big statement there from me. There we go. Number 8. Shall we get back onto obviously these principles? Police should always direct their actions strictly towards their functions and never appear to usurp the powers of the judiciary. So I don't know, usurp. I've never seen that word before. I'm not that educated that well, obviously.
Give up their duty. Shouldn't give up their duty, usurp.
Oh, okay, right. So, yeah. Okay. What about 9 then? So 9 is a great one. The test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder, not the visible evidence of police action in dealing with it.
That's Chinese doctor time, isn't it? You pay the Chinese doctor when you're well. It's a brilliant way of looking at it. That if there's peace in the communities and everything, that's what we should be.
That's what we should be measuring.
That's what we should be measuring.
In other words,
all too often we're measuring the things, and obviously the saying there is not all that counts can be measured, and not everything that can be measured counts. And we've seemed to got this police service where we're trying to measure everything. You can't measure a police officer being on the beat. You simply can't do it. You can't measure how reassured people feel. You can't measure that they're preventing crime, and you can measure that they're getting information intelligence, but a lot of that is stored in somebody's head. When I used to walk around Abingdon, I could see that there was a notorious burglar or something about, and I can note down what they're wearing. So put a shot across their bows to say, look, I know that you're out and about.
I see you. I'm just making a note at 3:23.
This is the essence of policing, and when you withdraw that, the public disengage with the police, and the police disengage with the public, and it's just an awful spiral that you get in. And to turn that to a positive, when we get the bobbies back on the beat, because it will happen, we will start reassuring people, we'll start preventing crime, we'll start getting the information, and we'll get in the right place at the right time. So, and that very last one that you said, number 9, we should be judged when it's peaceful, not when it's
not when there's crime and we can show that there's loads going on.
When there's public order happening and crimes are happening, the aim is to not be measuring it at all.
It's like you don't judge how well the dentist's doing by how many teeth he pulls or she pulls, do you?
That's my Chinese doctor thing. My if the dentist is telling you to floss and do all the right things, then that's what he or she should be measured on.
Yeah, it's like the police officer go, I see you. I know, I've wrote down when you've been here, and that makes them think twice, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, you can't beat having a Bobby on the beat, can you? Really? So
you can't, and that gets to the point where over this 3-week journey that I embarked upon, I hear the politicians sort of say, we've got this initiative and we've got this scheme and we've got this project. Well, we wouldn't need any of those. We wouldn't need to be ploughing thousands of pounds in if we had the Bobby on
millions of pounds. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's my point. Get that Bobby on the beat. It's worth all those initiatives and projects. We had the Bobby on the beat. What's the maths on that, Martin? So 1840, so 160 years. And it worked pretty well, you know, with a few hiccups along the way. But there's stability and there's security in that. And now we're reacting to things now and getting people in back offices trying to tidy up the mess that would have been prevented had they been out on the beat. I know that I've fallen out of favour with a few people in the problem-solving team and smarter resolution teams. It's a play on words that I use. I'm not saying to get rid of those departments, and I know that one of the departments is where people go, police officers go when they're very, very poorly. Right. But my thing is, wouldn't it be better not to have a problem-solving team and a smarter resolution team, because you'd be able to solve the problem before they become issues. So I think I made the point that you know, let's solve the problem before it actually becomes an issue. And I think that, you know, the officers in those departments acknowledge what I say. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I just want them to be more effective in where they're positioned. You
know, I've been in, you know, redundancy, and people said to me, "Oh, well, you know, what you're putting forward is going to make me redundant." And I've always said you can make things better with the money they're going to give you, but nobody wants to make anybody redundant, especially in the police force. We need more. We need more, like you're saying, Bobbies on the beat. But the point is if we're not actually if we're dealing with a problem afterwards, when we could actually sort it out before, you know, like I said, the dentist and you said the Chinese doctor, it's a bit like, well, let's sort it before it all happens. Then surely that's a good thing, and they can understand, and maybe there's a new position.
And you know, then we go to the point, let's sort it out with common sense and discretion. You know, that Bobby on the beat, Martin, this happened really, really quickly, actually. You know, I joined in 1993. Yeah. I felt it move away around 2000 when the detection rates of positive outcomes sneaked in. And then by 2010, it was all to do with targets, and it went really quickly. And I went from Abingdon to Witney, which is my hometown, Witney. And there were fantastic area beat officers. You used to call them area beat officers. They're called neighbourhood teams now. But everybody was reassured by their presence, and there was more than that. They knew, because they knew these officers. They knew these officers for 5 or 6 years. They could put their hands up when they go into the shop. Like, how's it going? You know, nice to see you, Al. And they knew that I could deal with it with professionalism, with I've got to stop using the word common sense and discretion. With they could trust me to deal with a problem well, and to the satisfaction of all involved.
Yeah, trust is a big thing. That. I mean, that's embedded in you know, the fundamentals of a police officer, isn't it? Trust. So
yeah, we lost it. We lost it by chasing the targets.
Yeah,
it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, but is it because this is where the boundary is going, isn't it? With like I'm saying, the reaching over from politics. Now, really, politics, they give the budget to the police force, correct? The Home Secretary does?
Yeah, obviously central government gives money, and then
yeah, but the politicians decide.
Council tax gives a certain amount of money, and every time that the council tax gives money, it always goes to the maximum precept that I think in Banbury it's 6.9%. You know, miles more than inflation, and it really does make me wonder where all that money is going. You know, and who the police service is actually serving, because it's not you, Martin, it's not me, and it's not the police officers themselves. Who are we actually serving?
So is this something you're going to look into then, if you get elected?
We've got a budget of very, very close to half a £500 million, close to it, 450, and we're now looking at closures of 5 front counters in Amersham, Bracknell, Bicester, Kidlington Headquarters South, and Witney. Now, I did the maths on that. If somebody corrects my maths, I'm all right to be. But for the sake of 15 jobs there and £500,000, surely we can keep those front counters open. What people have got to realise is those police stations are the heart of the community, and actually within the police station, those front counters are the heart of the police station. Now, my argument is that we have got officers, unfortunately, that are on restricted duties, and has anybody considered putting them into the front counter to keep those stations open?
Right.
Unfortunately, the very nature of the job, we do get poorly officers, and I think that they think that they're serving their communities and doing close to the job that they were joined to do if they were on the front counter assisting people, rather than being in the smarter resolution team.
So, okay,
have these options even been looked into?
You'll have to answer
that's a rhetorical question.
I've done enough investigation. I haven't been that far. Oh, blimey! But no. Again, I like what you're saying. To me, that's quite credible. That actually need to look into where all the money's being spent, and how can we redeploy certain individuals or police staff.
Martin, on that subject, I have put in freedom of information requests to see where it's going. I'm not, and one of my big questions is how many officers are actually frontline officers. If we're saying we've got 4,500 officers, and they won't tell me, they will not tell me how many officers we've got frontline, because I look upon it as the inverted triangle, that you've got these very, very small people at the bottom of the triangle there, being watched quite rigorously as to what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Do you mean the police officers being watched, or do you mean So right. there's so much oversight.
Can I give you a really good example of this? And
please do. Please educate us.
Yeah, I had a phone call this morning from a serving officer, and he told me that a call came through 3 or 4 days ago into the call centre, and it centred around a daughter. I think she was 15 or 16 years of age, and she was saying that her mum and dad weren't letting her out of the house, and she disclosed that 2 years ago Dad physically prevented her from going out. Nothing too heavy. The way I understood it is that he physically put his hands on her to stop her going out because she's getting in with a bad crowd. Now, what I'd like to ask your viewers or listeners is, what are you thinking of as to what a police officer should do given that amount of information? How would they like a police officer to respond to that? Now, to me, so at the time of the assault, in inverted commas, she was 14 and she's 16 now, and I would think all 16-year-olds go off the rails to a certain degree and push boundaries, because that's all part of what being a child and grown up's all about, to push boundaries. That's how I view that. Now, in the good old days of policing, in 1993, 1994 when I joined, that would come through as an incident, and by and large I'd go along to that house and I'd make a judgment call, and I'd have a look at the parents and the child, and I'd make a judgment to say, well, actually I really like these parents, they're doing what's best for the child and for society as a whole, to sort of put some boundaries in. The flip side of that is that they might not be good parents. They might be awful parents. They might be they might be coercively controlling. That's something that's come through over the last 10 years, this coercive control. But no matter what, as a police officer, I'd go and I'd look and see what's happened. And it would be almost instantaneous. That would come through as an incident. And then, they sort of like say, PC Robinson, can you go and attend this address in Abingdon? That now has gone through a call taker, and that lands on somebody's desk four days later. Now, that young lady was told that, oh, you've been assaulted, we'll have to investigate the assault. And that shows a lack of knowledge of the law from that call taker, not his or her fault at all. That they're not expected to know the ins and outs of law. But at the very least, they should have a police officer or somebody with the knowledge of the law to say, look, it's a common assault. After 6 months, we can't prosecute for that. So that girl was then led to believe that her mum and dad were going to, or dad actually, her dad was going to be investigated for the offence of assault. And that it simply wasn't going to happen. So it then dropped my friend who had to explain that, no, it's gone out of the time limits, we're not going to be able to do it. And she felt mightily disappointed in that. But the question still remains is, how would your viewer or anybody react to that call? With the knowledge of the law, I personally think, let's get a police officer around and let them use their initiative, their skills to resolve it. So as everybody's happy, the victim and the father and everything, right, you've dealt with that really, really well. We're all happy with that. Daughter knows where the boundaries are. Dad knows where the boundaries are. Everybody's happy. But then it gets on to the very point that you asked me about. I feel like Ronnie Corbett. I did a Ronnie Corbett on you. The scrutiny that officer is then put upon to think, look, this is a domestic incident. How are you dealing with it? Are we sure? Are we certain that it's not going to escalate into anything more? And that's a huge burden for a police officer or any human being to carry with them, to be to have the capacity to look into the future.
Yeah, it's not Minority Report, is it? Yeah, okay.
It's Minority Report.
Yeah,
it's Minority Report, and it's very, very difficult. And it's a big burden for another human being to carry, to think, to go home at night and think, crikey, a really serious domestic, have I done the right thing? It's very, very stressful. It's enormously stressful, bordering on traumatic. I think I might be going a bit far when I say the word traumatic, but it's enormously stressful for a police officer to carry that, and as a sergeant to go home every night and think, crikey, I really hope they're going to be all right. And equally, it could be the most innocuous one that ankle taps you.
Ankle taps?
One that you could never see happening. And
okay.
That's why we get paid the big bucks, but it's a heck of a responsibility.
Do they get paid the big bucks? Do police officers get paid big bucks? I don't think they do they?
It's a good question. I was never upset with my wage. I think as a sergeant, I stumbled up to about 42 or 43, and I think that's about right. But the youngsters starting now on just over 20, I don't think that's enough. It's a good question. I'll moan about everything, but I'll never moan about the wage. I thought the wage was fair for me as an experienced sergeant. I was all right with that.
There we go, people. Let us know in the comments, please, whether you think it's, a police officer's, what you're saying, 20 years old, they'll get what, 20 grand, did you say?
Maybe 22.
22. Is that fair?
Yeah.
There we go. Is that too much? There we go. We don't know. Let's do a little poll.
It's a hugely responsible job, and the potential for conflict and violence is always there.
Well,
and
again,
they're running to it when everybody else is running away. I don't think 22,000 is enough for somebody joining.
Well, they do.
I was always like my wage.
They do put their life on the line, don't they? At the end of the day,
they do.
There's a lot of mental issues that the police force have to deal with.
And not least the very thing that you've touched upon is somebody just putting their iPhone 11 in their face, whatever they're doing, and you know, that can be uploaded and seen by thousands of people within seconds. It's
yeah.
you know,
But then
and this
again,
is what I'm
if
fighting.
police officer is, or police constable, I don't know how to say it now, officer, constable. I've read too much. I've got constable and officer in my head. I just don't know which way to go.
Stay with constable, Martin.
Yeah.
Stay with constable.
Now, the police wear obviously, you know, camera, and I think, you know, especially with the way things are going at the moment, I think it is right that people have their own recording of an incident or whatever's going on if the police are there, depending on what the incident is. Because, again, with the current... what are you drinking, tea or coffee?
Tea. Yorkshire tea, Martin.
You know
Yorkshire
what?
tea.
I will drink a cup of tea later. I need coffee. I haven't stopped all day getting ready for this. So, to me, if somebody's videoing for their own, you know, for themselves, so they're covered, because there's a big thing, and I've read up a lot. My cat's just come up. It's just like, I want to go out. When you're read your rights, or when you were arrested, one of the first things is, you know, you have the right to remain silent, blah 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 blah. Oh, go on, Mr. Allen.
You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on court.
I knew you wanted to finish that.
That's from 2.5 years ago. It's still there. You never forget it. You don't have to say it, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on court. Yeah.
I could see that you wanted to say something. I could see that. So the point is as an individual, when I'm, for instance, if I was arrested, I've only learned this recently. Is this goes with I do not consent, but also I do not understand. Because when you say, for instance, let's just say you're the arresting officer, and you arrest me, and you say, "Do you understand?" and I say yes, that means I understand exactly why you're arresting me. When actually you could be arresting me, that's not actually correct. But also,
that's a really brilliant point, actually, because there's almost a presumption that the police officer knows what they're saying and doing, and yet I absolutely take your point that you could say that to a really well-educated person. You just reel it off, and then you say, "Do you understand?" Well, no, actually, I don't.
No,
because I don't understand what you're saying.
I don't know the law. I have no idea that, you know, for instance, speeding. Let's say speeding. I like, you know, if you get pulled over and they say you were doing 35, but you say, "Well, no, I was doing 30." Who's right? You know, it's like, well, we all know that if the police have calibrated their, you know, and they have a patrol vehicle and it's calibrated, then they've got the right instrument to say how fast you were going. But their instrument could be off. But you've agreed. If you say yes, I agree, straight away you've made yourself. You just admitted to breaking the law. But actually, you know, if he says 35, you say, "Oh, well, maybe I could have been doing 35." You're kind of accepting. So really,
when
you're questioned, is very
strange enough. Speeding's one of the funny things with me, because I've been on speed awareness courses and things like. But you know, the police officer's got to be absolutely certain that their car is calibrated, or the speed camera is working properly. And if you really disagree with it, and let's face it, you know, you're gauging in your car, because I think most of us now got sat nav and the speed dial, and they contradict each other, don't they? Because
they do. Yeah.
In my little electric van, it can be saying 33 on one, it can be saying 31 on the other.
Exactly.
So
but
you know, such fine margins.
But sometimes, you know, I don't know. If you're arrested, or sorry, if a police officer says, you know, "Do you understand?" and again, you don't know the legalities, because I believe there's something where you can, when it comes to speeding, I think, is there a sort of drift sort of thing? You're allowed a couple of miles an hour over to deal with the problems with speedos, but that's not.
Wasn't it? You used to have 10% plus one, didn't you?
Something like that.
But they're getting more and more strict on it. They're getting, you know, you know, during my time there, it was 10% plus one, so it was 30, goes to 34. to allow for that very calibration. But now they're getting really, if you're doing 31 in a 30, it's getting very, very, very strict.
So is that something you'll look into then?
Yes, is the short answer. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, there you go. But it's an interesting one, what I've just stated there about if you're arrested, actually the best thing to say is when they say, do you understand, is no, I don't, because you have no idea what part of the law. So again, and I do think wearing not body cameras, but people videoing, I think they do need to protect, because I think there's oversight by the government. The government is, like I said earlier, and I'm going to speak to the other three candidates in regards to the politic position, is pushing in the way where actually all these laws that are getting made, they're just money making schemes. They're not, I don't think, really, are they really for the benefit of the people? I mean, like you're saying, speeding, like you're saying 10% plus one, but now they're making it where it's got to be, if you're over, if you're 31 miles an hour, you're done.
Martin, you've tiptoed on two things. Can I make 2 points? Can you remember the word acro? But the first point I want to make is that, by all means, video the police officer, but bear in mind that the police officer is also videoing you. Yeah. And as soon as a police officer turns up at an incident, they flick the switch and they're recording you. So sometimes when people upload their video, you're not seeing the full story, and it's not really fair on the police officer. They can't then go onto YouTube and say, well, hang on a minute, this is a full set of circumstances here.
But would you not agree, though?
Just as a funny aside, sometimes you flick the switch and then you get back in the van and you can let out some expletives and you still got the thing recording, but that's to one side.
The
other thing that you've just tiptoed on there is this money-making thing.
Yeah.
And it's private companies. And my goodness, will I look into that? Where, in the not too distant past, those fines were issued by Thames Valley Police and it'd be fed into, but it is going to a private company, isn't it? I briefly looked into it before I embarked on this journey, but it's going to a private company. And how can that be ethically correct?
It's the way it's set up. It's the way it's set up, or it's the way it's been merged over the decades. Money has been, or laws have been put together to, obviously, for private companies. I mean, the government's a private company technically.
It's wrong. It's morally wrong.
And we the people, now Americans really love this, we the people, and actually that's in our constitution. I can't say this enough to people. We have our own constitution. It's called the Magna Carta. And if you don't, they're talking about the new Magna Carta. I found the document as well in my investigation. And they're actually trying to wipe out the monarchy now, which would mean if they do, and this is where this all comes out as well, all the stuff I found, which means that we would then be swearing allegiance to the government again, the police would, which then that becomes the government's army. And that's not the way policing is supposed to be. And that's not why it was set up in the first place.
Absolutely right.
So anybody wants to link to that, let me know in the comments.
If we ever go down that line, we're into a whole world of pain.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're governed by the monarch, whether you agree with that or not. But then you've got to also look at the alternative. What else are we going to be? And the Queen, she's been around a long time, and she knows quite a lot of things.
The people of this country, and the people of the three counties. Absolutely, we are.
I don't know if you know this, but please, anybody, tell me if I got this wrong. The Magna Carta was done because of people and the monarch, and that I think was James I. I can't remember, but it was put together to protect us, and that's why, it was agreed. There was going to be massive bloodshed, and literally the Magna Carta was created to. That's why we have the Commons, the House of Commons, Commoners, House of Commons, exactly. And then we have House of Lords. Yeah, and they're talking about in the new Magna Carta, they call it, I think it's called, Room 1, Room 2. Let's say, for instance, it's a bit like people. You've really got to understand that things that you see in your normal daily life isn't what you think it is. A bit like the Matrix. Sometimes, yeah, they call it red pilling. If you start to go down the rabbit hole, and again, this is where they go, oh, conspiracy theories, and it's like, or is it just a theory? Conspiracy theories as a group of people creating whatever and, you know, doing things and making you not, you know, make you not see past it, so to speak. You know, this is it. This is exactly what's happening. And there's no doubt, you know, that was labeled, or these theories were labeled conspiracy theories by certain organizations, governments, and also probably mainstream media to make people switch off. And there's people out there, and, you know, again, like going through all this, you know, going through this document, finding out and finding it very, very intriguing, and then working out that, hang on a sec, I had no idea until I read, you know, I kind of knew a little bit, but now I understand that it's split into three for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right.
Why are politicians going for the position of PCC? And that's what I'm going to ask. They shouldn't be. So again, you've put £5,000 in, and to be honest, if you didn't stand for independent, I probably wouldn't have even gone through all this. I probably wouldn't even. Again, I might not have, but it was a bit like, well, hang on a sec, you've just spent £5,000 for this. Why do you want to stand for it? Why would you want to do this? And then I've read this and gone, oh my God, they're not.
This is what it's all about, Martin. That you've got in your hand is what it's all about.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the comments for it. I mean, there's loads of stuff I've put yellow stuff all over. It says here, for instance, I'll bring it up again. I find it really. It is, and I'd like to know how. Oh, I wonder if the other candidates are watching this and going, I need to find that document. He needs to put that on so I can read it. I mean, here, the tripartite, is it partite relationship? We've got, actually, even better, actually, I've got this highlighted already. Let me just go to it. What it means to hold the office of constable. Holding the office of constable means a police officer executes their duty independently without fear or favour. You said this earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it really is as simple as that. You know, I'm a straightforward person. If it was complicated, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be. It's a really straightforward process. You know, the old-fashioned term is without fear or favour. You know, they've used the 4 words now, but basically it means the same. We shouldn't be doing things with fear or favour. And we are completely independent of everybody, politicians and the judiciary. And we are apart for a reason.
I do think there's police out there who are arresting people part of this Coronavirus Act that don't believe they should be doing it. And the fear is they are liable for prosecution or whatever. Not prosecution, but maybe, what is it? Review or something. I don't know. But because they can make an unlawful arrest. Now, part of the human rights is, you know, I can bring that up if you want. You know, it's what we signed up to. Go on, sorry.
No, you make a very very valid point. I wonder how well advised by senior ranks and legal experts the police officers have been advised. What advice and how they've been led with that.
Exactly. I see a lot of. Sorry, my cat's going mad to go out the door. I find it very frustrating. I mean, I'm going to show you a video now. It's not really something I want to do while we. Can you give me 1 second? Because the cat's going to drive me nuts. There we go. There we go. I would adhere to my cat. I do apologize to the people out there. So I'm going to show you a quick video. Now, again, for people out there, it shouldn't cause offense, but I just kind of want to show what's kind of happening out there. And for somebody who's going for the PCC position, I want to see if these fundamental 9 things are being met. Yeah, here we go. Make sure I have the right page. Make sure these are being met. And, you know, how but let's just see what you say, because you've been a police officer, and I have passed this on to friends. Not this one, actually. This one is just new to you for action. There is one I'll show you a little bit later. I mean, I said it was only going to be an hour. It's an hour and 10 minutes. So hopefully you haven't got anything planned just yet. So again, I'm just going to say this out there to people. You might find this a bit disturbing, but no blood or anything involved. But I find it really hard to watch. And honestly, my heart goes out to this person who had this done to them. So make sure I get the right one first. Now, what do you think to that?
Martin, I'm not going to defend the indefensible.
Right.
And I think it's really important to be transparent and honest. And when mistakes occur, you've got to apologise. On what I've seen there, that is just unacceptable.
Do you know what she was doing?
On what I've seen there, that is unacceptable. And I will not defend the indefensible. That's wrong.
Do you know what she was doing?
The lady looked like my mum, but it's just wrong. I can't. And you've just got to apologise. I don't know what the lead up to it all was, but surely
she was putting posters. Apparently,
the lady be at least in the 70s.
I haven't been able to verify this, but she was putting out posters about COVID and stuff, as in don't take the vaccine or something. I don't know, but she was arrested for that, or that's what happened to her.
I'm not going to defend the indefensible. It's wrong.
I'm going to show you another thing as well, because you have been a police officer. Now, again, I can't stress this enough to people out there, to all the people who watch this. Yeah. I do believe police officers have the fear that they will be sanctioned or whatever for not carrying out duties, especially for ticking the boxes and making sure the numbers go up for arrest.
Sorry to talk over you, Martin, but that very first thing that you showed me on the Thames Valley Police Federation site, does say that the police officers have got autonomy and act as individuals. Yeah, and that's what I was saying to you, that the police officer has to understand that even though they carry out whatever duties they believe is necessary and right, they have to stand by that, because technically they can be prosecuted for their actions. Exactly right. But also, this is I'm really eager to see the video. But the truth is that each police officer has got autonomy. They are individuals and they're accountable for their own actions. Yeah. But you put into your head, and that's what it was like in 1993, and it was great. But now you've got this added dimension of, I'm happy with my actions, the victim's happy, the offender's all happy, but the only person who's unhappy is a superintendent looking at their pie charts. And that puts a completely whole different dynamic on every interaction. Yeah, allow the police to police. Say again, sorry? Allow the police to police, and not like you're saying, not looking at that pie chart, isn't it? That's what this is. But exactly. I'm going to show you another one. Now, again, that video I just showed you, again, I haven't done due diligence on it so much to... Can I make it absolutely clear? That first one is disgraceful. Then you're not going to like the second. Okay. Now, again, hats off to Thames Valley. I've not really received much about Thames Valley at all, if any, to be honest. It's all been about the Metropolitan Police. And again, I'm not having a go at the Metropolitan Police, but I've got to say that... Martin, you're a fair man. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I hope, I'm sure when I next go to London, I might be pulled to the side by a few, and hopefully they'll just say, you're fair, by the way. But again, I understand from a police point of view, we don't give them enough credit. Yeah, but I do feel that police are being pushed by a political persuasion to make sure things happen, and it's not fair on the police officer. But they have to act by their oath, and this is why people say to them, "Are you acting under oath?"
This is something I would love for a police officer before they start their shift to say it, so that they know in their head, they know that they don't get a chance to forget about it. It's constantly, repetitively, they know.
Just off the top of my head, that oath should be put on a poster or painted on the wall, so as they're leaving the station, that's where your allegiance lies.
Yes, with the people, because that's the whole point. You police by consent. So that's enough. But I'm going to show you this now, because I'll make sure I get the right one as well. This one, there is no excuse. There is no excuse, and this will cause uproar and probably get this video probably banned on YouTube. But don't worry, I'm making a recording, so it's all good. But right, tell me what you think of this.
People are scared. Look what they're doing. Look at this old lady. Oh, whoa, whoa. Oi! Oi! This old lady, you cunts. Oi! 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 It's old lady. Oi! Fucking cunt!
Oh, sorry, I forgot about the languages in that one. I apologise to the viewers out there. I do apologise for that swear word in there. And I do apologise you had to watch that. Now, that was from last year's demonstration.
A COVID demonstration, was it, Mike?
I believe that was the COVID. I believe that's what it was, the COVID demonstration last year at the early points. What do you say to that?
I can't defend the indefensible. Police officers just shouldn't be doing that, but there's nothing more I can say. It's wrong.
I think the way the officer pulled that chair away without her knowing, especially an old lady, and then to be thrown to the ground again, heat of the moment, there's a lot of stuff going on going on there again, and I always try and think of myself, for instance, in the position of the police, but for that police officer to take away that chair from a woman who doesn't know he's doing, and especially an old lady, needs to have the book thrown at him or her, whoever it was. I think that's disgusting. I think that person shouldn't be on the police force, because to do that was wrong. And I can tell by your face.
Because obviously that was full in my face. Can you rewind it on, or can you not?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Nobody's ever asked me that.
There is bad language in there.
Let's see if I can get through it. Let's see if we can do this. What
you fucking doing? It's an old lady, you bastard!
Sorry. Again, I apologise, everybody out there. What part would you like to see?
Nearly all of it, because to be quite honest, it's like a lot of these things that you sort of like sensories are working overtime. I didn't know she was on a seat. She's on a seat there. Yeah,
look, this. See what this police officer's doing there. He's grabbing. She's not even looking. She doesn't even know he's there. She could have fallen, smacked her head, and be dead now. That is not appropriate. That is not good use of your force, is it?
Martin, look, it's bad. And the best that anybody can do when things go wrong is just to be open and honest and apologise.
Yeah.
We can't go in a time machine. People are human. We have millions of interactions each day. I'm not making excuses. I would never do that. The best I can do is to apologise to the public and to the person involved. I'm not, I think it's the fourth time I said that. I'm not going to defend the indefensible. I'm not. I can't.
All right. Again, no. This all goes back to though everything that you're saying about the 9. So many pieces of paper. These 9 things, and I can't see anywhere in there where that's defensible, where that police officer used, just even having. Sorry,
that's not minimum force.
It's not, is it? It's not. I mean, the degree of cooperation of the security diminished proportionality. I mean,
it's disproportionate.
Preserve public favour. You're not going to get. you are not going to get people to support you if that's the way you treat the people. And again, I understand police go through a lot. I mean, you said that yourself. You've been in the force and you totally understand that. And I am, like you said, I think you said this, you know, I try to be as fair as I possibly can, and I try to defend where I possibly can. I've got friends who've been in the police force and they've left, and I won't go into the stories that they've told me and how they feel. I think it's quite interesting that the 56% would not recommend working for the Thames Valley Police Force because of the way things are going, and it needs to change.
It's alarming, Martin. The amount of people that are leaving is alarming. I was a little bit blinded and a bit sort of like thrown by your word fairness in the middle of that, of the paragraph that you just said there. That is the key word in all of this, isn't it? You know, it's a reasonable person test, isn't it? You know, to be fair. Just come on, look at it from both sides and look at it. Fairness is such a key word, isn't it? And it is in the oath, and so are the other three words. But fairness is so key in everything. And then you've tripped on officers leaving. Now, I've been trying to get the figures on officers leaving, and it gets to kind of like anecdotal evidence that, you know, obviously I'm still in contact with my colleagues within Thames Valley, and they're saying that people are leaving within 2 years of joining. There's hardly any experience on the shift. When I joined, you'd have a cross-section of all, there's more of us for one thing, but there's a cross-section from, you know, me as a starter, as a probationer, a probie as they say, but you'd also have the wonderful people at 30 years who are, strangely enough, the one at 30 years was as enthusiastic on his 30th anniversary as when he joined the job. You know, an absolute role model of a person. But you had a cross-section, you know, people at 25 years, 20 years. But now, if you look at the demographic or, you know, the experience within the shift, they're all leaving. You know, it's very, very rare to have somebody who's got more than 5 years. And I use the term the skill, the art, the craft of being a police officer. And that's not being passed on. We're losing a lot because they just join. The front line is acknowledged to be the toughest role, and that they want to go into other departments very, very quickly. Whereas I joined knowing that I'd be a police officer on the front line for 25 years. You know, strangely enough, it was because of that gentleman who'd been in for 30 years. He was a role model, and I thought, no, I'm going to follow him. Yeah. But we lose a lot of experience very, very quickly. There's no experience. And, you know, what we've just seen there, I think shows a lack of experience and a lack of maturity. And we've got to make it more stable. We've got to make it more attractive for people to stay on the front line. And that means taking away the scrutiny, and the conversation goes in circles.
Yeah, but that video I just showed you with that old lady and that obviously chair being pulled away, there's a load of police there. Yeah,
Martin, I'm not going to defend the indefensible. You know, for all I know, the person who actually did it could have 15 years experience. There's no excuse for it.
Or 2 years. But also, I do think it's interesting what you said there about, it'd be interesting to find the average age from 30 years ago, 20 years ago to present day, to see if that's actually gone down. Because experience means
fantastic bit of work. And I have tried to do freedom of information requests.
But you should have to do freedom of information if you're going for PCC. You should be able to get that information straight away, should you not?
Yeah, oh goodness me, yeah. In fact, it goes to the PCC's office with free, but I couldn't get it prior to doing this. You know, there are freedom of information requests in there, not least to find out how much the computer systems cost.
Right. Okay.
You know.
So when you pay your £5,000 entry fee, shall we call it, is that when you're able to get smile? Well, it is an entrance fee. Come on. I mean, the position is £84,000 a year, correct?
It is.
Yeah, £84,000 a year. So you're paying £5,000 to obviously go for position, to go for this job position. Yeah, imagine having to pay to go for a job, interview. How many companies out there would seriously, but like, we've interviewed 5,000 people. We took £100 from each person. We're doing all right. Everybody fill the job? No. But
Martin, can I make it absolutely clear? I made a real blunder when I was on mainstream media. Listen, it's not about the money. Honestly, I could have sailed off into the sunset with the wonderful Mrs. Robinson.
You are retired, aren't you?
Just passionate about policing and the level of service that they're giving to you. I'm equally as passionate about the officers who are in there, who are on their chin straps. I am in contact with them, and a lot of them just want to leave. They can't stand another day of so much scrutiny. I'm passionate. I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't passionate about it. We need to get the police service efficient and effective, and we need those officers to be happy going into work.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they can go serve you.
I want a police officer to be happy. So if I have done something wrong, they're more than likely to say, "Do you know what? I'm having a good day. It's just a little bad one." Yeah. Come on. I mean, they're human, man. They're human. Just let's just make it so it's good. But again, how can you, if politics is steering the way they're being policed, or the way they're policing?
There's more dynamics to it than what we've touched on. There's other things that are in play within Thames Valley Police.
Okay.
That you can actually raise the morale of the staff, and that not least by having more of them, and more of them sort of like focused on what they're supposed to be doing, instead of serving the politics. But there's sort of like really minor things like allowing them to have the leave that they want. The amount of time that officers put in the leave, and they say, "Oh no, we can't do that because maximum abstraction and the shift would be low." Well, I know that in Gloucestershire they've got a database or a program that says, right, if you want that day off, we'll put it out to the other officers, and they'll do it on a flat rate so as you can have your leave. Now that to me is just absolute common sense.
Yeah.
If you can accommodate, you've got to bear in mind these officers are working really hard for 48 weeks of the year. The least we can do is let them have that. Just silly little things like when it rolls around to Christmas and Easter time. I don't want to be sort of like stereotypical, but the single people would be more inclined to want to be working Christmas, and quite frankly,
I don't know about that.
would like to think that they're helping their colleagues who've got small children have their Christmas with their children. Put it out to somebody instead of railroading somebody into doing the Christmas. There's some really, really easy wins, with leave. And a really important point is that there's a lot of officers, because there are so many poorly, we really need to think about how we debrief incidents. They go to incredibly traumatic incidents, and that's compounded by, you can go to a traumatic incident like, no, I won't give an incident because of the viewers, but you can imagine during an 8-hour shift, you can go from the sublime to the absolute, something really, really awful, like seeing a dead body and everything. And then you're going to somebody who's complaining that a cat's gone on their lawn or something. And, how does your mind, how does your brain come down? But these are all things that we should be doing to help officers. How do you debrief? In my police service, those police officers would have a mandatory, it's not a nice to have, to talk about it at the end of the shift. And this goes to closing down the police bars and canteens and things like that. Officers finish their shift, put their things in their locker, and they're back at home. We really need to start thinking about how we debrief and how we look after officers. And that's not to do with money. And that's not even efficient and effective. But nobody appears to be thinking about the dramatic and traumatic effect this is having on officers.
So you sorry.
And that hurt. With all my heart, that hurts to think that an officer's doing that.
Can we just go back to what you just said about the can? You saying they're closing the canteens down or something?
Well, first they took the bars, and I can almost understand the bars, but the bar was somewhere where we used to go and debrief, and we could get our head around the events of the day. But we used to have canteens. Now the canteens was just a small business within the police station.
I've seen it on
breakfast
TV show or whatever. The bill.
It was an opportunity to see people from all ranks and all departments. And what people don't understand, it wasn't somewhere where we had the laugh and a giggle, so hopefully that does happen. But we'd also be talking about who we're chasing after, and there'd be a passing of information and a passing of banter.
Yeah.
And with that went a whole culture. And I've read in some books, some really awful things, canteen culture and things like that. There was nothing wrong with canteen culture. That's where we went and talked and had a good time. And we could see our colleagues as human beings, as opposed to, we saw our colleagues as friends and not colleagues.
Yeah, well, that's how it should be, shouldn't it? Yeah, I saw people I worked with as friends, and again, I've not done the traumatic things that the police force have to go through. But I would expect them to have canteens, and I'm not being funny. Somewhere, hate to say it, safe for them to be, but I would not expect there not to be a canteen at a police station because
canteen. We can't even keep the front counters open, Martin.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting conversation with a lot of people, then, isn't it? I mean, you've got a lot to do. I mean, again, we've been going for an hour and a half. Wow, it's been very enlightening.
I've enjoyed every minute of it. Been
do
brilliant.
you know what? I had a whole document here. I mean, you've literally made me jump from front to back, middle, left, right. Here we go. I'll just bring this up. I brought it up earlier, which just before, again, time, everybody's time. Let's have a look. Where is it? I'll bring it up in 1 second. I mean, this document is, again, I'll put a link to it. Where is it? Just so that people understand. So when they come to make a vote, again, and I hope obviously the other candidates come on. Here we go. This is the bit. I have to make sure I haven't got that other video. No, let's take that off. There we go. There we go. So this is the bit I was talking about how it's supposed to be separated in the position, which is the Home Secretary is answerable to Parliament and the public for the provisions of an efficient and effective police service. The Home Secretary sets out annual strategic policing priorities and statutory performance framework against which police performance will be measured and compared. The chief officers retain overall operational independence. We'll come back to that in a second. The chief officer is responsible for the direction and control of the force, including the civilian staff and delegated financial management. And the PC, so number 3 is PCCs, will aim to cut crime and deliver an effective and efficient police service for each of the 41 forces. They will hold the chief constable to account for delivery of the force and will be responsible for setting the force's budget. And when we say the force, we don't mean Jedi, by the way. So chief officers retain overall operational independence. Do they get that?
I'm say again, sorry, Martin. Chief threw me with the Jedi thing. But
sorry,
say that again.
I couldn't resist because I know there's people are going, Jedi. Chief officers retain overall operational independence. Do you think that they do?
It's a really blurred line, isn't it? Because people have criticised me because my plan, and I won't go through it again, but the two things that I'm really pushing is that I want to get the Bobby back on the beat and using its common sense and discretion.
Okay.
Now, some people have criticised me for saying, well, that's operational. You're saying how to do it operationally. Now, my argument is that I've got to make the police service efficient and effective. And that's how I'm going to do it, to allow the officers to. So it's going to be a lively discussion if I get elected between me and the chief constable as to whether I'm interfering operationally or I'm going for the effective and efficient.
Oh, blurred lines. Yeah,
it is blurred lines.
It's very blurred.
But
Go on.
But I'm convinced I'm right. I'm right. You know, give them back the common sense and discretion, and then we can deal with things in a way that's good for the victim, the witness, the offender, the police officer, everybody else. And then we can get on to the next job and serve more people to be more effective and efficient. It's a massive thing. It's a really big thing to be challenged a chief officer on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I never thought of that. Obviously, they're going to say one thing and you're going to say another as PCC. So,
and I will win.
See, that's the thing. You know, where's the blurred lines part? Who has overall? Who has the final word? There you go. Is it the PCC or is it the Chief Constable? It is you.
Because ultimately, I can say, if you're not going to do it, I'll get somebody in who will.
Oh, okay. So you really want to get things moving. Then you really want to reshape and make it exactly how you believe your vision should be. Yeah,
I'm really shy of saying the word vision, but
I've got no problem. I think it's great.
But it is a plan, and it's another word that I dislike is holistic as well. But it is an entire plan. Apart from cybercrime, you know, I appreciate cybercrime is going to be massive over the next 5 or 10 years, and I've got to ensure the budget's there for that. But the actual day-to-day policing, the 5 elements, and what the other candidates have never spoken about is the morale of the staff and how they're going to deliver things when the staff are broken.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what
you can't deliver anything. You know, it's a sort of Richard Branson quote. You know, the most important people in any organisation are the employees. It's not even the customers; it's the employees. If the employees can't go out and deliver what's being promised, you know, just on the similar note, I had an email through from a consultancy company the other day. And it's given me all these facts and figures and 60% satisfaction and detection rates for GBHs and, you know, how we fit in with the other 41 forces. And at no point does anybody ever talk about the morale of the officers. And if they're, you know, 450, this is some, you know, by a journalist who did a freedom of information request. 1 in 10 of your officers are poorly. I'd be calling that a critical incident. I'd be saying we need to, what is going on here? You know, we need a proper investigation. Why are they falling by the wayside? What are the issues within the police service? Because as a matter of urgency, and the 72% of people, of officers who believe that morale are low, and 56% who wouldn't recommend it. These are staggering things. I'll give you another one, actually, Martin.
Go ahead.
When the PCC took office in 2012, there was 530 assaults on police officers. Last year, there were 1,300. 150% increase. And nobody seems to be wanting to do anything about it. Nobody seems to say, hang on a minute. If I was a police officer, a frontline officer, I'd feel very, very unvalued.
Yeah.
There's no value on me. And if nothing else, those officers need to feel valued. They need to be wanting to go into work and enjoying going into work. And I don't think many of them do, not on the front line. It's 72%. You know, there's a serious piece for saying we've got to change our way of leadership or management.
Well, you've got to, if a person doesn't, I said to a lot of people about this, especially in business. I worked in private and public sector. When you work, you spend more time at work than you do with your family, which most people go, no, you don't. I go, calculate it. You know, when you're with your family, if you're asleep, you're not really with your family. You are, but you're asleep. So you're waking hours. And then they're like, such a good point. So if they're happy at work, hopefully they'll be happy when they get home. Things will be better for them. But if they've had a stressful day, and if, you know, things are going, you know, things go wrong at places of work, no matter what line of field it is. But I can imagine how extra stressful it is being a police officer.
Yeah, can I just throw something else in here? Is that I talked about leave being refused and things like that. There's also short time duty changes. So you could be down to work on a Friday morning from 7 till 5, for example.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're short at night for the nighttime economy, and that 7 till 5 could quite quickly and rapidly change to a 10 till 7. So somebody's family life is really disrupted. You think you're going to be working one thing,
but does this come down to
a term called exigency, EXIGENCY, and that's never been defined as what an exigency of duty is. At the very least, an officer is deserved to know why that, they have got a right to a family life. It's tough enough without having those constant duty changes. And that's all brought about because of austerity and not having enough capability to ensure that what's needs to be done is done, as in being able to police the nighttime economy in the city centres. Yeah, well, that's just wrong. Yeah. And then, but nobody within the Chief Constable's management team or any senior rank is saying, this is just awful. We've got to start looking after our officers. And that's what I'm about. You look after those officers, they can then go out and serve their communities. They serve their communities, that their morale will go up.
Yeah.
And it's important.
I think if they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy when they go to work, especially if they've got those extra hours. They're not going to be better for the people, out on the street. So yeah, it's not doing anybody any favors, is it? It's just causing more and more problems. But like you just said about money's being cut. So how many more officers on the beat are you looking? Have you made a little ballpark figure?
Right, Martin, I've looked into this, and I've hammered home the number 450 that are poorly. I think we lost during this austerity, the 20,000 cut. Within Thames Valley, we lost 450 there. So it's 900. I'm fairly good at maths. There's 900 people that should be working who aren't. So at the very least, we need to go back to where we were. We need 450.
As a start for 10. Let's go back to where we were, how we had it, and then we'll work on once I know the budget.
Yeah, you've cracked it. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we need those. Whatever we've lost, we've got to have back, and then we've got to raise the morale and get them to enjoy coming into work. And I think within no time we'll have a really lovely spiral going on of just feeding off. We're back on the beat. We're using our common sense and discretion. We're serving our public. Our morale's going up, and the whole thing just keeps feeding in and off each other. And I think it'd be really quite magical. And I think the public would feel it. Having made my statement that not everything counts can be measured, not everything measured. Surely we can feel the confidence in the police growing. We can feel morale, not just within the police service, but outside. The public, the people will start feeling morale going up. I think it'd be really magical. It'd be a really incredible thing to achieve. Yeah,
but don't you think other, for instance, PCCs? Now, again, you're first, so it's a bit unfair on you. So. Because you're independent and they're not, so you paid out a lot of money, so you deserve to have a little bit of leeway here. So I'm going to put myself in their position, so to speak. So, well, how are you going to do it? You're saying you're going to put these extra, don't you think we would do the same? There's obviously not the money there. You're going to have to make cuts.
Albert Maysles made the quote that tyranny is the deliberate removal of nuance.
Okay, now put that in English for me, please.
Right, so
dumb it down for me, thank you.
I'm in the fortunate position that I know the nuance of policing.
Right.
And I can think of 5 things off the top of my head that is completely budget neutral as to how we're going to get the bobby back on the beat. The first and major one is to bring back common sense and discretion instead of wasting hours doing court files and having them bounce backwards and forwards. So that's the first one.
So hang on a second.
The second is to
sorry, can I just interrupt you there? If you do if you do what you said on number one, if you do that, then judiciary is not going to have the money to pay you.
What do you mean?
A lot of the reasons why, as we discussed earlier, is policing changing to the way to benefit government and to produce numbers and also to produce financials to pay for more policing or put into policing or to waste the money, like you just said, the X amount of millions. You can't understand why 500 million comes in or up to 500 million. And what are they spending it on? But obviously fines comes into that, doesn't it? Fines does go to whatever company or maybe back to the police force in some shape, some shape or way or whatever.
Yeah. Martin, let's make no bones about it. There's enough people to arrest. I'm not saying we never arrest. It's that we don't arrest for minor misdemeanors and things that can be dealt with in a common sense way.
Okay.
But we've got to push back on people who, let's not mince our words here, who waste our time.
Okay.
People who haven't got personal responsibility, who consider it to be the police's job to sort out every little thing that happens within their home. And you talk to any police officer, my goodness, there's enough of them. We're going to have to be quite robust and say, look, there's no threat, harm or risk here. We are not attending. And there's a lot. I think most people, unless you've been a police officer or a teacher or a nurse, would understand quite how much people are willing to, if you're willing to give their time, you give your time, they're willing to take it. And we've got to push back on those people.
Yeah,
we've also got
God, sorry.
We've also got to push back on other public agencies, with a service level agreement, more and more, especially during this austerity, social care and mental health issues have become more and more policing issues. And we're not trained, we're not, just as an example of some poor soul going through a mental health episode, the police have to intervene, whereas that really should be the job of mental health services, and put them in an ambulance to get them to where they want to be. They shouldn't be put in police cars, and for too long they're put in police cells as well, which is absolutely abhorrent behaviour. They have cut that down, but what I'm saying is there's got to be a service level agreement, and that's got to be enforced.
Okay. What's your third?
Now, I've also touched upon that there are a lot of police officers who are doing jobs that they should be doing on the front line. And I have given the example of smarter resolution and problem solving teams. If they're out on the streets, then that would cut that down. Now, there is also another thing called hate crime, no crime.
Right.
Now, what on earth is that? Now, hate crime is an awful thing. If you're subjected to it, if you're disabled or, you're picked upon for your race, religion, sex or sexuality, that is an appalling thing to do. And I wholeheartedly support any police officer running a prosecution on that. What comes into hate crime, no crime are things like somebody looking at a tweet and getting offended by it. Where police officers are in existence to police the streets, not the tweets. And a silly little innocuous comment on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it might be, the police really shouldn't be getting involved in that. And I've got a friend called Harry Miller, who's going to the Supreme Court, and you might have heard, I think we're at Friday now, I think on Sunday, Priti Patel made the decision to say anybody who's been caught out with this hate crime, no crime, because you're having a discussion online about transgender or anything like that. It's a discussion. Just because you're having a discussion doesn't mean you're transphobic. But we got to a point where we're checking people's thinking, which is very, very Orwellian, and that's wrong, and it's taken up a heck of a lot of police officers' time. We've got to push back on that. Not only just dealing with that, but we then have to deal with the complaint arising from that. That, you know, somebody saying, well, crikey, what does it all mean? You've now recorded me as an offender on this hate crime, no crime. Well, what it actually means is that on an advanced DBS check, you're looked upon as a hater. You've got something recorded against you for hate crime. And that's just wrong. It's, you know, and the ruling for I think it's the Supreme Court, is going to come back, I think, within a week or two on the Harry Miller case. And, you know, the harbinger is what Priti Patel said over the weekend to say, if you're one of the 120,000 who's been caught out with that, then it's going to be expunged, or it's going to be written off your record.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. But interesting, wasn't it? And there's a fifth one, isn't there?
And that's nuance. That's what I know. That because I was a police officer for 25 years, I know these things. I know, you know, I don't know how to put an electrical plug on, but I do know how policing works and how I can make it more effective.
Well, you've done it for 25 years.
We've got the wonderful people of the Special Constabulary, who absolutely are the glue within that organisation. These wonderful people give up their time freely and do all the things that a police officer's called on to do, and they do it without any money. And if people forget everything that I've said this evening, please remember those special constables are incredible people. They do everything that a police officer does. And I would encourage anybody to join if they're thinking about joining the police service. And I've got the very good fortune to have a good friend and he does it out of the goodness of his heart because he wants to give something back to the community. That's an incredible thing to do. You know, we were talking about police officers' wages earlier, and I was on 40 odd thousand, and police officers on 20. To do it for nothing.
That's true.
But it makes me very, you know, incredibly emotional. I mean, to put yourself on the line like that. It does funny things. It's an incredible thing to do. But to encourage people to join the Special Constabulary and make them feel valued, you know, when they turn up for a shift, make sure the shift welcome them and, you know, put them with somebody that they want to be with and get them to where they want to be, because they really are an incredible resource, very often overlooked.
It's a good point. I never even thought of that. Very good point. Well done. That's, I think my friend was as well, a special. So, okay.
Hat off to it.
Yeah, we have we're coming up to 2 hours. Believe it or not, it's been like I've run out of coffee as well. I think, and I've got a little bit left. Now, what I've done this with all the businesses in my lockdown show that I did. So I'm going to do the same with all the PCC candidates. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few of the things off, especially myself, and I'm going to let you do a sort of an election speech. And then I will put that out on our social media channel, as well as, for instance, all the other channels I have. But I'll put it out. And obviously, I'll go through this interview, which is twice as long as I thought it was going to be, which is great. No, I love it. It's good. It's good to talk. I wish it could be longer as well. So what we'll do is I'll snip it out. But this is the one I'll concentrate on. And I will say, I did it for, like I said, the lockdown show. And what I've done is some business owners. So you literally have, like, I would expect, I'll give you a couple of minutes to obviously say what you got to say, and I will put it out. What was it? Call to action. That's the word I was doing. I was stalling there. I was trying to remember. There we go. See, so I'm going to take that all off. You know, again, I say 2 minutes. I'm not going to, if you're halfway through, I'm not going to be like, did. Oh, look, you've used up 2 minutes. I'm not going to be like that. You can carry on. But yeah, you up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you can push this out on all your other channels as well, by all means. All right, I'll give you a countdown and I'll remove myself, and then it will just be you. And like I said, I'll put that out there. All right, 3, ready? 2, 1.
Okay, I'm Al Robinson. I'm running for the position of Police and Crime Commissioner in Thames Valley Police. On the 6th of May, you've got the chance to, or the opportunity to vote for probably the most important election for 3 years. The police officers and the communities can't have another 3 years of this austerity and politicians in charge of the police service. So what I'm proposing is a 5-step plan or vision as to how I want the police service to be. 1, I want to get the Bobby back on the beat. Police visibility will reassure the public, will prevent crime, and it gathers intelligence. Secondly, I want them to use their common sense and discretion instead of chasing meaningless targets. I think it's unethical, and that they were recruited to use their common sense and discretion and initiative, and that's what I want them to do. Thirdly, I want more community involvement. I want them to be in their communities and listening and acting upon what those residents and the people that we serve actually want. So as we get the right people in the right place at the right time to prevent crime. Fourthly, I want to raise the morale of the staff, and this is very often overlooked by the major parties. They promise all these things without knowing the effect that it's having on the officers. They can't deliver anymore. We've got 450 off poorly at the moment. And of course, the fifth thing is that I'm free from political interference, which means that I can, the only people that I'm accountable to are the people that I care about, and that is you. I'm not accountable to Priti Patel or anybody else, and it's really important that I've got no politics in what I'm doing, and I've got to serve the people that I care about, and as I say, that is you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say it. I am grateful. Thank you.
Wow, well done. That was good. That was really good. How do you feel?
Thank you. Do you know how I feel, Martin? I feel like it's the first time I've been allowed to express.
Good. I'm glad you feel that.
First time, you know, we're rolling around to 2 hours now, and I feel great. I feel absolutely elated because it's the first time I did do it on another radio, and I was getting into my stride. But it's very difficult to put it in a soundbite. You know, a vision, a plan is very difficult to do in a 15-second soundbite or even a 2-minute soundbite. I feel great. I feel absolutely great.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, obviously, this is new to you. You've not just done this sort of thing before, have you? Sort of put yourself out in front.
Listen, I embarked on a journey. On the 8th of April, I put my nomination papers in. I didn't have a clue where it was going. I had a plan.
Before, and
I had a heart, really. I had a heart to say, right, and I had £5,000 and I had £5,000. But it's worth every penny. You know, if I don't get in, I hope I inspire somebody else in time to come to do it. I'd help them. It's so important that this post is independent. It's so important. It's just so important that, you know, people realise that this isn't a political post. I don't know how it's become political.
Can I give a word of advice, or maybe you can kind of agree or disagree with me? Again, if you're going to go for this position, I strongly suggest you give it thought now. So for next 4 years is when it next becomes available, because there's a lot involved, isn't there? There's a lot. It's you've got a lot of planning that you've had to do in what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, but Martin, the thing is that if people were to be brutally honest, the job is evolving as it's going. So nobody, you know, if you speak to the other camp, nobody really knows what it absolutely involves. The remit is absolutely vast. You know, what you're going to do about cannabis, what you're going to do about fox hunting, what you're going to do about landlord tenants. The remit is absolutely vast, and I had to focus in on, I know how to make the police service efficient and effective, and I will hold the Chief Constable to account. Yeah,
don't forget.
I might not be brilliant at the budget, but there's people there. Yeah. Yeah, get the 9 appealing principles in. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent, brilliant. Well, again, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and
it's been a pleasure, Martin. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been brilliant.
Thank you. Hopefully, you'll be able to be available on May 5th at 6 p.m. Hopefully, that's the Wednesday before. We're going to see if the other candidates are available. Again, I don't think I got a reply from you about it, to be fair, but
I wanted to see how this went first. And it's gone all right. So we're all right.
I am sure when you rewatch it, you'll probably go, maybe, but don't. I mean, this is why there's no time for it. I did say an hour, but again, I'll let it go to like 2. I'm actually slightly over double. I'm supposed to be picking up my daughter at 8, but never mind. She should be watching. She'll probably go on it and go, my dad just doesn't know when to shut up. There you go. But all I've got to say is, do rewatch, do take snippets out and post that on your social networks, and to people who are helping you and supporting you in this massive task you have undertaken. There is no doubt an independent doesn't have the people behind them.
I haven't. I've got, apart from my good wife and sort of like 5 or 6 really supportive people. I don't know how to do tech.
Can we meet your
3 weeks ago, I didn't even know what Zoom was. So
you didn't even know what FBL was, did you? There you go.
No. Can you believe that?
I know. I can't believe that. Everybody should know what FBL broadcasting is. I'm here to create democracy, let democracy hopefully be seen, as well as given. I mean, I do Live in the Park, Stansted Raceway, E&G Sports. I do a lot of stuff, and I dedicate time and space in my diary, as I say, to trying to help everybody, no matter what political party you are, but especially if you're independent. I do feel people who are independent do not get enough time and not given enough, especially by mainstream media and by certain organizations, and it needs to stop. It needs to be fair. You can't that's why I'm kind of stopping at 2 hours. Not that I just have to pick up my daughter, but everybody, for instance, whether it's Matthew Barber, John Howson, or Letitia,
they're great people.
They will still be given the opportunity. They'll probably say, "Can we shut it off on half an hour? You're boring me." But again, that's up to them. But we've had a great time, and I really do wish you all the best. And I can't say this enough. You can FBL. You have absolute autonomy to take apart what you need, chop it up, and put it out how you want it to be put out. But just in case you're worried about copyright, because I know independent people might think, "Oh no, he'll have a go." I'm telling you now on air. So it's like I say to the bands, can we use the material? Yes, you can. How much? It's free. Don't worry about it. Off you go. Go and promote yourself. So I look forward to the 6th. I really do. And again, if you don't mind me just jumping on, your time here, to all those people who are also standing for local election for the council positions. If you want to get in contact, please do. I'm going to probably set up a show where you can all just funnel into me, and we'll bring you up. But do let me know. Do send me a message. Do communicate. Again, we've been taken off of Facebook for some bizarre unknown reason, mainly because we show the truth. But secondly, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, obviously email. Go on our website, fill out a form. Just let us know who you are, and I will get in contact with you and give everybody a fair opportunity to be heard. And without that as well, everybody, please don't forget to subscribe. It's really nice that you do. And hopefully FBL can bring some even more commissioners, candidates, and hopefully they'll be as entertaining as you, Alan.
Thank you so much. You've been great. Absolutely great. So, top man. Thank you.
Any last words you want to say to people before I shut this all down and finish up for the day?
No. I'm just enormously grateful. I'm enormously grateful to your listeners and viewers. All the very best to all of you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you ever so much.